Hi there. Good morning or good evening. My name is Barbara McVeigh, and I'm here at Marin Television in San Rafael, California. We are so excited to have a very special co-host with us this evening, ABC Spencer Christian. Hello, Spencer.
Hello, Barbara. It is so great to be with you on this amazing occasion, celebrating our 39th president's 96th birthday. It's awesome.
Happy birthday, President Jimmy Carter. What more
Yes.
is there to celebrate than that?
He's an amazing man, and he deserves an amazing celebration of his birthday. This is actually the third birthday, no, actually the fourth birthday event recognizing President Carter's birthday that I have attended, two in person in Georgia and two with you, if you
That's
count.
amazing. Well,
Yeah.
the Jamboree itself here in California that has been endorsed by the California legislature just last year, which we'll share a little bit later.
Uh-huh.
But this got started 4 years ago by a very small group of people who really wanted to share the good of what all of our potential could be. And we thought, Jimmy Carter's it. And Spencer, can you believe this? His birthday, October 1,
Mhm.
the same day that we threw the first Jamboree event, was the same day as the final day of the 50th anniversary of the Summer of Love. Do you
Oh,
remember that day when the plane flew in the air to celebrate the 50th anniversary of love and did the heart in the sky?
yeah, yeah.
That was Jimmy Carter's 93rd birthday and the start of this 4-year event.
How appropriate, right? The summer of love, and the president who loves humanity and loves music, and a president who just projected all the things you want to see in a president. Character and integrity and kindness, and a commitment to justice and equality. Yeah,
He's
I love
walked the talk.
it.
And what was amazing about that event back in 2017, the first one, it was just a few people who had this idea. And as we started to talk about it,
Yeah.
more and more people started to join the efforts, including College of Marin, our own Democratic committee. Marin Television was the first to get on board. Musicians were excited to get on board. And it just started to grow and grow and grow. And we're going to talk about that on this show, along with some very, very special guests who will be joining us too.
We do have some great guests, yeah, and it's all about recognizing what Jimmy Carter means to the country, and to humanity globally, because he is a global humanitarian.
80 countries around the world, I understand it. And we'll be hearing about all of that work from Misha Garaselis, who is a human rights journalist, later in the show. I thought we could first go, Spencer, to a video. This was the very, very first proclamation, I believe, in our country from a city, the city of Novato, who endorsed our efforts and put together an idea for a week-long celebration for President Jimmy Carter. And let's go to our first video to see what that looked like there at the city of Novato.
Okay.
Hi, this is Mike McGuire, State Senator. When you hear the name Jimmy Carter, you think of integrity and humanity, humility and grace. Mr. Carter, well, he embodies the very best of America. And he's the shining example of what it means to put your country and your fellow Americans above yourself. Mr. Carter has never shirked responsibility. He's never shied away from the hard decisions or failed to lead this nation with wisdom and with love. President Carter has earned the respect. He's earned the respect and the admiration of the entire world. First as our 39th president, and then perhaps one of the finest diplomats that this nation has ever seen. It's incredible, but at the age of 96, Mr. Carter still isn't finished trying to make this world a better place. He's truly a remarkable man. He's dedicated his life to service, and we are so grateful for the example that he set for all of us. It's my deep honor to wish President Jimmy Carter the happiest and healthiest 96th birthday. May he celebrate many more to come.
Straight from the bumper sticker to the tribute to us.
Got it.
Okay, that's all right. So we know that there's a lag time.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Wasn't that a beautiful tribute from State Senator Mike McGuire, just saying it like it is, Spencer, about just the integrity of Jimmy Carter?
Yes. Yeah. And I think the whole world appreciates Jimmy Carter's integrity. Way back in 50 years ago, when he was almost 50 years ago, when he was president, he was talking about things that were so, what's the word? Not futuristic, but he was a visionary. That's what I'm looking for. He was talking about energy conservation. He was talking about alternative fuels. He was talking about global warming. He was talking about protecting the environment. All these things that we have delayed addressing for so long, but President Carter was talking about them in the 1970s. Think about that.
It's really amazing. And in some ways, I've heard this said, he almost speaks to us more now today.
Yeah.
At that time now. He was ahead of his time. I completely agree with you.
Yeah, he was so far ahead of his time. And as a former governor of Georgia, as we were just coming out of the Jim Crow era, he was also ahead of his time on human rights and racial justice. When he was inaugurated governor of Georgia, he said the days of segregation are over. And that certainly didn't win him any popularity contests with a large portion of the Georgia population. There were threats on his life for taking that position, but he's an honorable and courageous man.
That's really amazing. I'd like to go back to the video of the proclamation from the city of Novato, because they put together this amazing proclamation that really says so much of what you're saying, Spencer, and puts it in such a formal way. And I do believe they are the first city in our country to put together a proclamation to honor Jimmy Carter for an entire week. So let's go to that video.
I'd like to ask Barbara McVeigh and Dr. Christina Lemur to come to the podium. And this is regarding the proclamation for declaring the week of October 1 through 8, 2017 as U.S. President Jimmy Carter Week. Hello there. I've met this lovely lady, and she came up with an absolutely brilliant idea. I know Barbara was the brilliant one, and then you followed up on her behalf. But anyway, it's my honor, if you want to face the audience, it's my honor to present you guys with this proclamation regarding President Jimmy Carter Week, and I think this will explain a little bit about what it's going to be. Whereas James Jimmy Earl Carter Jr. entered state politics after serving as a naval officer for 7 years and was eventually elected as the governor of Georgia, where he attracted attention by emphasizing ecology, efficiency in government, and the removal of racial barriers. And whereas Jimmy Carter served as the 39th President of the United States from 1977 to 1981, where he implemented clean energy and environmental conservation policies and practices, including installing solar panels on the White House, instituting recycling programs across federal government departments, enacting environmental protection legislation, and establishing the Department of Energy to ensure an environmentally sustainable world, truly ahead of his time. And whereas Carter's commitment to peace, democracy, human rights, and humanitarian values that respect all people were recognized by being awarded the Nobel Peace Prize, the Presidential Medal of Freedom, and the United Nations Human Rights Prize. And whereas his ongoing work, including resolving conflict, promoting democracy, protecting human rights, alleviating human suffering in the United States and globally through the Carter Center, as well as helping low-income people build their own housing through Habitat for Humanity. And whereas since 1984, President and Mrs. Carter have been champions and strong voices for affordable, decent housing for all, donating their time and leadership each year to build and improve homes through Habitat's Carter Work Project. And whereas over the course of more than 30 years, the Carters have worked alongside nearly 100,000 volunteers in 14 countries to build, renovate, and repair more than 4,000 homes and have inspired millions more through their dedication to Habitat's mission. And whereas the Novato City Council affirms these values and wishes to honor Carter as he turns 93 years old on October 1st and supports the Jimmy Carter Jamboree during the week of October 1 through 8 in the county of Marin to celebrate his birthday. Now, therefore, be it resolved that in honor of Jimmy Carter's 93rd birthday, the City Council of the City of Novato hereby proclaims October 1st through 8th, 2017 as 39 U.S. President Jimmy Carter Week and encourages all of our residents to participate in local events recognizing President Carter for the significant impact he has made on our city, our state, and our nation. Congratulations. And you're going to tell us a little bit about the day. So congratulations. Give him a round of applause.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Council.
So I'm going to pass the torch. Should I go to Barbara first, and then, or Christina, would you like to?
You want to go first?
I'd love to go first. Yes. So thank you so much. This is really historic. This is a president who has done so much for our country, and really hasn't gotten the acknowledgement that he should. And really, Novato is the first city to do so. And I think that's incredibly courageous and amazing, and I'm just so happy to be a part of it, humbly.
Well, thank you for thinking.
We will shout this as far as we can, and hope to bring recognition to your great city in this effort.
Christina, tell us about what are the things that are going to happen here.
Okay, sure. We'll change things that are in our hand. So let me first just say that when I heard Barbara talk about this, I was just on board immediately because I've been a big Jimmy Carter fan, but not really heard, like she said, not really heard people talk much about this president. And the fact that he's turning 93, and you probably heard he was out sawing and hammering with Habitat for Humanity, and you heard because he got dehydrated. So this is a person whose integrity and values and leadership and vision we want to recognize. And when I heard Barbara say, so we want to shine a light on something positive, on leadership and vision that we respect, but I'm right there and I'm going to help how I can. So I'm so happy that people in Marin, the mayor, and council is stepping up to help and support that. And we're going to do a video. That's one of the things we're going to do. We're going to do a happy birthday video that we will send to President Carter from Marin. Like she said, I not really heard people talk much about this president. And the fact that he's turning 93, and you probably heard he was out sawing and hammering with Habitat for Humanity, and you heard because he got dehydrated. So this is a person whose integrity and values and leadership and vision we want to recognize. And when I heard Barbara say, so we want to shine a light on something positive, on leadership and vision that we respect, but I'm right there and I'm going to help how I can. So I'm so happy that people in Marin, the mayor, the council,
We're back here in Marin.
Support that, and
we're so excited to be here celebrating President Jimmy Carter. What you just saw was, we believe historically, the very first proclamation by a city to support a Jimmy Carter week for Jimmy Carter's birthday. That was in 2017. That was the first proclamation in the city of Novato, which had just actually established 4 houses with Habitat for Humanity.
Right, right. Isn't it amazing that a city all the way over on the other side of the country, so far away from Georgia, for example, was doing this proclamation to honor him? It just shows how far his reach extends with his humanitarian work. You know, I've actually been on one of the building sites with the Carters, with President and Mrs. Carter, when they were building a house for Habitat for Humanity. It goes back to my years when I worked at Good Morning America, and I did my broadcast that morning at the location, and on each of my little on-camera appearances, I brought either President Carter or the two of them on to talk to me about the work they were doing. It was an amazing and memorable experience.
And I really want to give credit to a community that really made this happen. Of course, it was the city of Novato, but College of Marin came forward. And at that same event, or following that event, during that week, we actually invited 2 Swiss filmmakers over to show a film called A Road Not Taken, which is about President Jimmy Carter's visionary solar and wind energy initiatives back in the 1970s.
Yeah. That's
It's
pretty amazing.
pretty amazing. But what's also very exciting, Spencer, and you've been part of this for the last year, and you really kind of upped the game, let's call it, last year when you joined us to receive what eventually became a California resolution.
That's right.
The Jimmy Carter Jamboree efforts that we've been making.
Right. And we had our wonderful Jimmy Carter cut out there with us. It was.
I keep telling everybody, just give me a bowl of peanuts. I'm good.
I wish I had thought to have a bowl of peanuts with me too.
We can throw them at each other.
Exactly. Oh my gosh.
I also have a glass of peach, Georgian peach tea, just for Jimmy Carter. I may be here alone, but I'm having a good time.
How appropriate. That is so good.
Together, aren't we?
I wish I thought of having all those little goodies next to me. I was just so concerned about getting here and contributing something meaningful to the program.
Oh, wow, you have, Spencer. And I think I'd like to believe this is just the beginning. I mean, we've got, more ideas cooking, and you had called this, what did you say? You called it the Jamboree?
The Jamboree, right. The Jimmy Carter Jamboree. Why not just shorten it and call it the Jamboree?
He has been a lover of music, and that was part of the intention behind this. And, he did say also, there's so much history, but he said at a Music Cares Award with Bob Dylan, I think Bob Dylan had invited him to AmeriCares Award ceremony. Carter said, no, I'm not going to come. And then he asked him again the following year, will you please come and present this award to me, to Bob Dylan? So finally, Jimmy Carter did go to that event. And at that event, you can look at this online, Jimmy Carter says, musicians have far greater power than any president of the United States. And for him to say that as a former president, that really gave us some ideas.
That is so powerful, And we all know that those of us who were around when he was president know that he was a great lover of music, is a great lover of music. And I think Bob Dylan, he said publicly, was his favorite musician. But, one of my connections with President Carter and the Carter family is through a musician as well. David Osborne, who is a world-renowned pianist, is a personal friend of the Carter family, and Jimmy Carter has said on many occasions, David Osborne is my favorite pianist. Well, I also know David Osborne. He's a friend of mine. I've known him for over 30 years, and David was the one who invited me to MC President Carter's 75th birthday celebration in Americus, Georgia in 1999. And then David came back and invited me last year to MC President Carter's 95th birthday celebration in Americus, Georgia. So music and musicians are an important part of President Carter's life.
And it should be for us too, right?
Yeah.
We have so much to learn, so much to be inspired by. We do actually have David Osborne, who is going to join us a little bit later. And but before we go to David, let us take a look at the California resolution that you accepted last year with a few other people right here in Sausalito, California. Yeah. This is our third video, and we're so excited to share this because we also believe that this is historic too. This actually happened last year, 2019. Let's go to this video and see what we have to say about that. So I would like to welcome to the stage Carol Mills of State Senator Mike McGuire's office with a little surprise to share with all of you. And again, I just want to say it takes people to make this happen. Mauro Dossolini of this great restaurant where there's dancing and music almost every night of the week, people coming together. And we're here to honor that kind of spirit. Carol Mills, come on up here. I would also like to bring to the stage, amazingly, Spencer Christian of ABC News, who is honoring us to be here. He was the MC for the Carter's birthday duo, Rosalind and Jimmy, celebrated together last month. In late August. So Spencer Christian, and one more person here because we just can't celebrate one birthday. We got to celebrate another one. April Peebler. That's right. Play it. She is the founder of an international youth movement kids who are taking a stand for our oceans, and their oceans, of course, too. She's the founder of Heirs to Our Oceans, and she was the UN last week, and she and Spencer are going to be the lucky ones to receive this resolution in honor of President Jimmy Carter. So,
First of all, you may notice this is from the California State Legislature. It's signed by Assemblyman Mark Levine and my boss, Senator Mike McGuire. And everywhere we go, our resolutions are larger than everybody else's. And we like to keep track of that. Yeah, exactly. I'm one of the few people in this room that's old enough to have been an adult when Jimmy Carter was president, and he has always made us extremely proud. He was a great president and an even greater ex-president, and he, especially in comparison to what we've had lately, he reminds us what dignity, integrity, humility, and compassion are supposed to be leading the country. And I'm so proud to be able to give this resolution in honor of his birthday. May he have many, many more. Oh, well, there's so many whereases, but why don't I go right down to the last one here?
Shall we hold it so you can see it?
So I can see it, yes. Whereas, having celebrated 73 years of marriage with Rosalind on July 7th, 2019, Jimmy Carter also became the longest-lived president in U.S. history in 2019, and he embarks on his 96th year with magnanimity, compassionate engagement, visionary leadership to continue to exemplify the highest attributes of effectual and honorable public service. Now, therefore, be it resolved by Senator Mike McGuire and Assemblymember Mark Levine that the Honorable James Earl Carter, Jr. be commended for his decades-long record of principled service and leadership that have improved the quality of life for people in the United States and throughout the world, and extended sincere best wishes for the success of his future worthy endeavors.
Smiling for the camera.
You guys want to say something?
Okay, you want me to go first here? Sure. Okay.
It's a real honor to be here and accept and hold this resolution from Senator McGuire. We've, as a organization, Heirs to Our Oceans, have met with Senator McGuire on issues such as the importance of developing new leadership here in the United States, and that's empathetic leadership. That's a massive piece of what Heirs to Our Oceans does in its youth education and empowerment around ocean water protection and protection overall of our natural resources, is really value empathetic leadership. And so I am so appreciative of Barbara to have invited us and to accept the resolution that really exemplifies empathetic leadership through President Carter's not only administration but his life. So hopefully he is, in that regard, someone who can be looked upon and remembered by the youth today as what a leader might look like from that position, an empathetic leader. So,
Almost jumped out of my skin there. That's great. Jimmy Carter deserves so much more recognition than he gets. I wish we could start a campaign to just go around the country and tell people how remarkable this man is. I've had the great honor in my career as a news person with ABC to get to know Jimmy Carter, to have interviewed him several times over a period of, there you go. I first met and interviewed former President Carter in 1988, and we have probably had 6 or 8 interviews
and sit downs together since then. When I moved here from ABC in New York to the Bay Area in 1999, because I had not only met the Carters several times, but had worked with them on Habitat for Humanity, I was invited to go back to Americus, Georgia to MC Jimmy Carter's 75th birthday celebration, which was an amazing event. And then 20 years later, this year, I was invited back to MC a joint celebration of Rosalynn Carter's 92nd and Jimmy Carter's pre-95th, they called it, because his actual birthday, as you know, was Tuesday of this week. But we celebrated their birthdays jointly in August. So I won't ramble on, and I just want to say that because I've posted so many things on social media about my, quote, relationship with the Carters, I think people probably have the idea that I'm their best friend, or I write Jimmy Carter's Sunday school sermons for him. But many people have asked me, what is he like? What has he done? Tell me about Jimmy Carter. So what I often say is that he has been a peanut farmer, a naval officer, governor of Georgia, president of the United States, prolific author, Sunday school teacher, maker of peace accords, Nobel Peace Prize winner, builder of homes for the poor, and global humanitarian. That's Jimmy Carter. So he should be celebrated, recognized, and honored, and I'm happy to be a part of this event tonight. So thank you for having us.
Larry Bragman, who's going to speak right now. He's an attorney, an environmental activist, and he's also the president of Marin Municipal Water District. And he has a few words to share.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's an honor to speak to celebrate President Carter's birthday. I first learned about Jimmy Carter in 1975. My brother went to Emory Law School and brought Jimmy Carter to the Midwest from what was then called Hotlanta. And I have a very specific recollection of him talking to the North Shore Democrats in Milwaukee on behalf of Jimmy Carter. And to me, Jimmy Carter was a citizen president. He was a citizen before he was a politician, and did so many things that were future oriented, ahead of his time. He put solar panels on the White House and enunciated a policy of human rights in Central America, which he recognized and called out, and unfortunately was prematurely denied a second term. And we're still fighting for those two things that President Carter called out, for the environment and human rights. And if you look at what's going on today, those struggles still continue. So to the extent that Jimmy Carter, and celebrating his birthday, we recommit and strengthen our commitment to the environment and to human rights. He is an inspiration and really a great man and a great citizen, and it's just a real honor to speak tonight on his birthday, or celebration of his birthday. So thank you very much.
It's live streaming right now here where we are.
Yep.
Okay. We're going to make a tape available.
All right, we're live. We're back here.
Yes.
Spencer, we have a special guest. Who is this person?
This special guest is a friend of mine named David Osborne, who is a world-renowned pianist. I've known David for over 30 years, but he's also a personal friend of President Carter, and he's President Carter's favorite pianist in the world. So, David, welcome to the show, and why don't you tell us how it is you got to be friends with President Carter?
Well, thank you. It's great to see you again, Spencer, and great to see you, Barbara.
Nice to meet you.
Excuse me?
It's great to meet you.
I know. Great to see you, too. Great to see you. I was living in Orlando, Florida in the middle 80s, playing for Disney, playing at the Hyatt, playing for Marriott, the big Marriott there. And I'd always wanted to meet Jimmy Carter. And so I went to a book signing. And at the book signing, it was at the Barnes & Noble's bookstore. I stood in line for hours. You know, he'd only been out of office for 5 years at that time.
Yeah.
So I figured it wouldn't be that big of a line. Well, the line was, you know, blocks long. And my wife at the time, my first wife, said, well, you'll never get in there. I took a record, one of the big records, the 33, that's how long ago this has been, and had signed it for him. And so I stood in line. You know, I stood in line for probably 3 hours.
Wow.
Yeah, and got there, and of course, he was sitting behind a table. I did get a brief picture with him at that time, but Buddy Bush, ironically, was the head of his service detail, and, you know, not kin to the Bush presidency, but Buddy Bush. He said, you really can't go back behind there. I can take the record and give it to him later, but you can't just hand it to him. So that was it. I put my phone number on it. And very shortly after that, a few days, Dan Ariel at the Maranatha Baptist Church, where Jimmy teaches his class, called me. And Dan said he wants you to come play for us. So I said, great, you know, this is what I wanted to do. So he said, what sacred tunes do you know? I said, tons. I was raised in the Southern Baptist Church,
right? Which
was a perfect fit because Jimmy's was at the time was Southern Baptist, not Cooperative Baptist now. But so long and short of it is that I was there in a few weeks. We struck up this friendship that's now lasted, gosh, all these years. You know, in '99, you and I did that, the 75th.
Yeah.
Now here it is, 2020. When I first met Jimmy, he was 60, about 60, 62. Now he's 96.
Yeah.
Who would have ever thought that he would live this long?
And he's amazing. And he's not only living that long, but active and contributing. I just want all of our viewers here who have heard me mention that I was, you know, fortunate enough to be the MC for his 75th celebration and his 95th. This is the man, David Osborne, who made that happen because he's the one who contacted me and invited me to be the MC. So I have you to thank for all this recognition I'm getting.
Well, you know, I kept seeing you, you know, when I was at Caesar's Palace playing, which is a fantastic place. I kept seeing you, and you know, you've always been a star to me because I always watched Good Morning America when you were the weatherman.
Yeah.
And you and I in those days, I even had a crush on Joan London.
Yes.
I always loved Joan London. So I'd turn Joan London on, and there was Spencer Christian doing the weather. And to actually see you, and we had Celine, we had all these people, even Frank Sinatra, Tony Bennett, all those people came in that room at Caesar's Palace.
Yes, they did.
Yeah, and there was Spencer Christian. And so I got to meet you, and then we actually put that whole party together using Caesar, Cleopatra, all the centurions. And then I said, would you like to be the MC because you're so eloquent and well-spoken and good-looking, and you know, and Jimmy's all about you. He's all about African-American progression in the world. He's such a great man. God, and how we need him today.
Yeah, we certainly do.
We need him so badly today. And I asked you, and you said yes, and I had Phyllis McGuire and Pat Boone and all those people that it was actually, I think God just laid his hand on that whole thing. It turned out so beautifully.
I agree, David. Listen, in the interest of time, we're going to move to some other guests and some other segments, but I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for joining us. Why don't you just say happy birthday to President Carter while you're here?
Happy birthday, President Carter, and we hope you live to 150. And we will see him after the first year. We're gonna just transplant this date to right after first year.
You got it.
I'll be calling you. You better answer the phone.
Now,
Thank you, my friend.
We have a video to share of yours, David Osborne, a little video that we're going to share. And what's beautiful about this, Whitney Houston actually used to sing this song, right? Can you tell us a little bit about the song that you play?
Yes, and I'll tell you a real brief story about it. You're playing "I Will Always Love You," or are you doing? Yeah. Oh, well, I met Dolly Parton once, and, you know, I mentioned that she wrote the song. You know, she actually wrote the song. And she was so kind, and she said, you know, I always wished somebody great would play it. And I'm like, me? Great? You're the one that wrote the song. And then she said, Yes, and also I always was somebody that sang, that was really great, would sing my song. That's how humble Dolly Parton was about the song. And of course, Whitney Houston, that became Whitney Houston's song. So,
Yeah. Wow.
yeah. Well, I always loved President Carter. He's changed my life. He's the real deal. He's one of the guys that's out there in the world that's the real thing. You know?
That song of yours is Narada Michael Walden, who really helped launch Whitney Houston to her fame.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. If you see Michael, tell him I said hi. I know. He was at the Palace, Caesar's Palace. Yeah.
He's a great guy.
Yeah, well,
thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you. And stay healthy and well, and God bless.
God bless you, David. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Let's go to this beautiful video of our
video.
And I'm done after this?
Yeah, but we're playing your video right now.
Okay, okay, great. Thank you. Bye.
Yeah, School of International Service, yeah.
You want me a senior economist as well?
Yeah, I'm senior economist at Global Financial Integrity, GFI.
In Washington.
In Washington.
Excellent. Spencer, that was really amazing with David.
He's incredible, isn't he? He is absolutely amazing. Great guy and a great musician.
It's really amazing. That was really beautiful. Really, really beautiful. Thank you so much, Rick, for joining us. We're going to talk about the sweater and Jimmy Carter's speeches.
Yes.
Bring back the sweater. Wouldn't it have been great if we had all followed his lead and followed his advice 43 years
45
ago.
years ago, really. 40,
yeah.
Yeah.
Gosh. Amazing.
Yeah.
He was a visionary. He was and still is.
He gave this particular speech that I want to tell a story about. He gave that in 1977. And then in 1979, he was putting in solar panels at the White House, which
That's
then
right.
Reagan took down.
Exactly. Oh, gosh.
And then the New York Times had a story just a couple of years ago, 2017, about how Carter was putting solar panels out on his land in Plains, Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
We are live. Hello, everyone. Here we are at Marin Television, back after listening to that beautiful peace fight. Your friend, Spencer, David Osborne, Carter's favorite pianist, as I understand it.
And you can see why now, right?
Oh, God, that was just so soulful. And we have a new guest here, Rick Rowden, who is a former, actually an original Marin County resident. You grew up here, Rick, didn't you?
I did.
That's amazing to me. And today you are, a lecturer, let me get this right here, lecturer in the School of International Service at American University, and you're a senior economist at Global Financial Integrity in Washington, D.C.
That's right. But I'm still very linked to Marin County, and my sister's just texted me photos of Stinson Beach. So
Stinson Beach, a great place to
be. I could be there.
Yeah, I'll bet.
Well, welcome to the show. And we hear you have some really interesting thoughts about Carter's speeches, which many of us still listen to today. And what could you tell us about that historic sweater speech? I don't know, maybe there's another name for it, but
I think people call it the sweater speech, but it was a famous moment in the Carter presidency when Jimmy Carter gave a speech in February of 1977. It was a very serious speech. He was like on TV at his chair next to the fireplace. I think he was trying to kind of do like an FDR style fireside chat radio message that FDR used to say to the American people to try to rally their spirits in the midst of the Depression in the 1930s. And I think when Carter gave the speech in 1977, this was in the midst of the OPEC oil crisis. There was an Arab oil embargo, and we had a shortage of gasoline and long lines for our cars to pull into the gas stations to get gas. And the price was way up. And Jimmy Carter got on TV, and he was, rather than wearing a suit and tie, he was wearing a cardigan sweater. And he told people that we're having an energy crisis, that we've got an energy problem, and that there's only a finite amount of oil, and that we've got to actually slow down the rate at which we're burning oil. And he said, one of the things everybody could do is turn down their thermostat at home and just put on a sweater. And, I think what he was trying to do is he was trying to, like FDR, he was trying to, like, reach out to our better angels and, like, rally the American people to come up and step up to the cause of the day and like, hunker down and, like, pitch in for the greater good of the country. And unfortunately, that speech fell really flat, and there was kind of a political backlash against it. The American people were not in the mood to hear about sacrifice. They did not heed his call to national sacrifice. You have to think about, like, this is a generation that had grown up in the 1950s and 60s and 70s at a time of huge explosion in the middle class, expansion of the middle class, consumption, cars, TVs, air conditioners, everything. And they were just used to consuming, and nobody wanted to hear that suddenly we would have to consume less.
Yeah. It's, so unfortunate. It saddened me when I saw how the country reacted to that, because, you're right in everything you said. We were a consuming nation. We had a whole generation that had grown up in the land of plenty. But those people who had grown up during that time had parents who lived through the Depression, who lived through World War II and all the sacrifices that were made then. I'm surprised that my generation didn't take the lessons from our parents more seriously and apply them to Jimmy Carter's message.
Well, I think the younger generation, it's true, they grew up hearing their stories of their parents' and grandparents' deprivation in the 1930s, but then they realized, I think, that they had come to have some sort of sense of entitlement, that that was your time, that was your generation, and we're growing up in a new world where we all get to consume.
Yeah.
And I think they just sort of had the sense of entitlement. But Jimmy Carter was certainly a visionary. As it turns out, the move to renewable energy is obviously taking shape now and happening more and more.
That's right.
We had, at the time, he was worried about the supply of oil. And ironically, we have discovered in the subsequent decades many more deposits of oil around the world. And then the fracking revolution has opened up all this access to natural gas. And now we're in this strange position where even if we had an infinite supply, we know we have to stop burning it anyway because of climate change.
That's right.
So he has been, I think he has been really, he had that vision of the need to get away from oil and gas and to make it to get us to begin relying on renewable energy. And that's why he brought the solar panels to the White House in 1979. And it was just such a tragic turn of events to see Reagan take down those solar panels. It was such a symbolic gesture for where the country still was at that time.
Yeah. Yeah,
but it's interesting, and I'd be curious to know what you think, Rick. So, as I've heard from historians, Carter has been described as the last president of the 60s era. I mean, there had been an era in the 60s and 70s where people were really like on a new spiritual path. They were questioning everything and really trying to break open, question the establishment as it had been then. It was a revival of arts, music, poetry. So many good things came out, a lot of negative things too. So here you have this incredible drive of people, Earth Day, Dennis Hayes, who is actually a guest later on in our show, founder of Earth Day. But what do you think, that generation who was like so ripe for change, what happened in that moment?
Well, the Reagan Revolution is what happened. I mean, you're right. Carter was sort of that last of that era of the 60s, because when we say the 60s, we really mean like 65 to 75, more or less, when those years of tumult and change were happening. And he came right in after that, really after the tumultuous experience with Watergate and the resignation of Richard Nixon. And, we had Gerald Ford there as a caretaker government for a while, but he was really sort of like our clean start after Watergate in a way. But it was at a time when the country was really changing. A lot of the political activism and the social awareness of the 60s was really about to be pushed back into the back burner, because we had with the Reagan Revolution, we had the celebration of wealth again. We had a Dynasty in Dallas on TV, and really the sort of the celebration of wealth again. And that sort of social justice consciousness that had been really prevalent in the 60s and the 70s was really set aside. And I think that was really also sort of an unfortunate turn of events for the direction of the country at that time.
The MLK speech, the Dream speech, and, by the way, MLK Day was actually initiated by President Jimmy Carter. Reagan ended up signing that into to make it happen, but Jimmy Carter is the one who started to drive it. So the dream, right? The dream of being better people. We talk about the MLK Dream speech of being better people, but somehow that has been corrupted into this idea of the dream of having a big house and being financially successful. How did that happen? I guess it's the Reagan Revolution.
I think the Reagan Revolution, the celebration of wealth, the celebration of individual wealth over any notion of like the public interest, I think has really been a way you characterize the last few decades. But I think if we get hit with like 3 or 4 or 5 Hurricane Katrinas all in one year, we're seeing the droughts, the floods. I don't need to talk about the fires in California. I think people are really waking up to the fact that something is seriously wrong. And, the international UN climate scientists are saying we have until the year 2030 to reduce our emissions by 45%. And if we don't get on that track, we're going to have some serious problems with like a runaway greenhouse effect. It's a very scary thing. Fortunately, there's a lot of effort and money and energy going into renewables now. And it just goes to show how much foresight Jimmy Carter had at that time. If the country had only been able to follow his lead back in 1977, 79, when he brought those panels to the White House, if we had been on this track all that time, we would have been, right now we're like racing with China on the solar industry. We would have been far ahead, total world-class leaders, far ahead of anyone else if we had followed Carter's lead.
And that's what we should be. We should be the world leaders in that. We pulled out of the Paris Accords. Give me a break. But don't you think, Rick, that if we really seriously pursue these sources of these renewable energy sources or alternate energy sources, that'll be good for the economy? It'll create new jobs that never even existed before?
Absolutely. There's plenty of economic evidence to suggest that the renewable energies industry is a huge job creator in many different ways. You have the actual jobs that are in the renewable industry, and then you have all the forward and backward linkages, all the goods and services that they use in turn. It's definitely a job creator. I think, some of the critical policy issues that really need to be addressed are government subsidies to the oil and gas industry. We still have a terrible problem. Not just the United States, the Europeans are even worse than us in this regard. Many countries around the world the governments still give huge subsidies for production for oil and gas companies. And that has to change. That's something that didn't change under Reagan or Bush or Clinton or Obama, something that hasn't changed. And of course, under Trump. So I'm looking for, future leadership to address that policy. It's crazy for us. Like when you're like digging yourself into a hole, the first thing to do is to stop digging. And yet we still give tens of billions of dollars of taxpayer dollars to the oil and gas companies at a time when we should be cutting that back and shifting more resources into renewables. And I think Jimmy Carter would probably agree with that.
I know he would.
One of the things he said in a speech was that I am not going to do this alone. He was really asking the American people to step up to their responsibility and to sacrifice. I mean, Carter has been a person to suggest that sacrificing, your desires, short-term desires, let's call them, for a higher good, it's a powerful way to be a citizen, as he surely has demonstrated himself. So, Rick, do you think that we as the people have more power within ourselves to stand up for this and sacrifice more and be better people? And how do you think that might look?
I don't know if we need to sacrifice more. I think we have to think about happiness and well-being differently. It's not about material consumption. There's many other ways people find meaning in life and find joy in life and find itself a purpose in life. And one of those things is public service. And I think Jimmy Carter has clearly showed that. I think, people vote every election, they go out and vote, but really democracy is it's a constant spectator. It's not just a spectator sport. It's a participatory thing. There's many ways people can get involved in their own communities and in state and national and international issues all year round. There's many ways people can get out, get engaged in issues that they're interested in, get engaged in issues that they care about. They can volunteer. They can support organizations that are working on these issues. There's all kinds of things, legislation they can be involved in campaigning on and advocating for all year round. There's always policy changes and regulations that need to be changed. There's so many organizations that get active in pushing on things and changing things all year round, not just every 4 years at election time.
Yeah, if we could encourage, I don't know if we should mandate it, but if we could encourage more people to devote time to public service or to national service, if you want to call that, don't you think it would make people have a greater sense of shared commitment to national goals, shared commitment to advancing society's needs?
Absolutely. I would love to see it be like a standard requirement for graduation from high school. Students should have to spend like a semester or a year before they graduate high school doing some type of either not just community service, but even at larger level, like some type of service at the state level or the national level or the international level also, but some type of service where you go out and you learn about issues that are happening in the world and how you can contribute and get active on issues. I think we don't really teach our students how to do that. We say, go vote every 4 years, but that's it. We don't tell them how to become active, involved citizens.
That's true. I think in a sense, that kind of service makes us a stronger country than military service.
It's certainly something to think about. Yeah.
I will give a plug to the San Francisco Unified School District. They're rolling out a new program to teach students how to organize for unions, which is amazing. How to be union organizers, how to stand up for workers' rights. It's a new program that they're launching this year, understanding that workers have really been exploited and continue to be exploited. Much of that was driven by the 1981 National Union strike under Reagan, by the way, where the loss of the unions and the incredible economic disaster that we have today. Billionaire class.
On that exact point, there's this great chart or graph that goes around in circles amongst economists, but I think other people know about it too. But it's these lines on the graph, and they show that wages and productivity rates of workers were going up steadily together for many decades. In 1980, at the beginning of the Reagan years, when the crackdown on labor unions and labor union organizing began, those two lines started separating, and worker productivity continued to go up, which meant higher profits for private sector companies, but wages started to stagnate and go down. And those lines have continued to get farther and farther apart as labor has been completely weakened and undermined. Right. And part of that is because of globalization, part of that is trade, part of that has to do with our exchange rate policy and how strong our dollar is and how competitive our goods are in world markets. There's a number of factors that go into that, but clearly getting workers to have collective bargaining rights and to be able to act on those in a meaningful way is something that we've really lost considerably and that we have to definitely get back to. And that's true all around the world, not just in the United States.
Yeah, that's true.
That's amazing. Well, Rick, do you have anything you would like to say to President Jimmy Carter for his 96th birthday?
Yes, I'd love to say happy birthday to you, Jimmy Carter, and also to say sorry the world didn't listen to you back in 1979 when you were putting solar panels at the White House. But you were right all along, and at least a lot of us are finally catching up with you and seeing that you were right all along. So thank you for your public service, and happy birthday to you.
Thank you so much, Rodden, lecturer at American University and former resident here at Marin County. You're doing great for the world. Thank you, Rick. Can't wait to continue watching you.
Thanks very much, and say hi to Marin County for me.
All of us.
We will. Thanks, Rick.
Okay.
Great, great. We have another video to share. This is actually an amazing woman. She's a what does she call herself? A human rights journalist, but I would describe her as something even more than that. But her name is Misha Gerakoulis. And I met her by happenstance at an event, of a Carter event, actually. And Spencer, she had been to the Carter Center for the 2017 Human Rights Forum, which I never even had heard about. And it like opened up this whole world of all this action that's been happening at the Carter Center. And I kind of asked the question, like, I don't know, I feel kind of dumb. Where have I been all these years? A lot of people probably are.
Right. Well, I only know about it now because as we prepare for this program, you sent me information on it.
They have been everywhere. And Misha Gerakoulis has so much to say about her journey as well. And what she learned about the efforts and how not only what's happening at the Carter Center, but the approach to solving problems, which I think is so inspirational. So we're going to go to this interview. We recorded this about 2 weeks ago. Misha Gerakoulis, human rights journalist. And this is going to be our 5th video, and we'll be back right after that, Spencer.
Okay, let's take a look.
Hey, Misha, thank you so much for joining us today. And I understand you were at the Carter Center a few years ago for a special forum. Could you tell us a little bit more about that and what you learned?
Yes, thank you so much. It's my pleasure. So in 2018, I went to the Carter Center in Atlanta, which is on the property of President Carter's Presidential Library. It's a big, beautiful campus. And the Carter Center, just in case anybody doesn't know, it's actually a nonpartisan think tank. It's a resource center. It's a research center. It's an entertainment center. They show movies. They host town halls, and they also employ more than 200 people from around the world. It's a 501c3 funded strictly by donations. And they work in 2 main categories, health and peace. And their work is grounded in the 1948 UN Declaration of Human Rights. So on that point, every year they hold a human rights defense forum that is set up very much like a UN meeting. So people, leaders from nations around the world come, and these leaders can be from governments or non-governmental, and they come and they spend several days in meetings with President Carter and Mrs. Carter, sharing their stories. And just to sort of side note that, the tagline for the Carter Center is to wage peace, fight disease, and build hope. And that is exactly what I experienced as a journalist / observer at the forum. So I was seated up in the balcony overlooking this forum, and Jimmy Carter was very present the entire time. Each person who spoke from a country sharing their story of whatever issue that they're working on or human rights violation that they came to discuss and garner support against. Some people came seeking protection, asylum, safety. The Carter Center provides all of that. And so each time that a country leader would speak about their situation, President Carter would engage with that person and say, okay, we're going to formulate a plan. And what the Carter Center does, what he personally and his wife do, is after they hear everybody's situation, they then formulate a plan to support that person and support that issue by writing letters to a president or prime minister or appropriate country leader. They will actually have in-person meetings with a president of another country where these violations are taking place, for example, and kind of put pressure on a government to make change. They'll also take steps to try to help people get asylum if that's what's needed. The point is they really take, and it's not, even though it is a meeting place and it's a place to share story and to be heard and to feel safe, and to be with, kindred spirits, it's very much a place where they take action. And to that end, they also have, I forgot the number now of how many programs they have. I want to say like several hundred programs in 80 different countries, fostering health and peace.
My understanding, and maybe you could share a little bit more, is the method that he uses is by empowering the people themselves to take the action, which is pure democracy and supporting democracy, right? Allowing the people and tooling them so that they can make the choices needed. Would that be an accurate statement? And do you have any examples of what that might look like?
Yeah, let me think on that. So, thinking about human rights and just kind of defining our terms very, very broadly, it's the ideal that every person, just by virtue of being part of humanity, is entitled to dignity and respect and to live in peace and to pursue their life in whatever manner is appropriate for them. And then we have the idea and ideal of social justice, which is, again, very broadly defined. I would say it's the idea that all things should be equal. But we know we live in a world where all things are not equal. And we live in a world where, even though we have this amazing document, the UN Declaration of Human Rights, it's all great, but how do we actually put that into motion? How do we give that transport? The Carter Center and President Carter himself is very much about taking action. And so I'm trying to think. So it's been 2 years since I was at the forum, and I'm just recollecting one speaker right now. I don't remember the name of her organization, but she was a woman from Afghanistan. And so she was there discussing human rights and all that women have had to face with the Taliban being in power. This woman had been a nurse. She was a career nurse. And before the Taliban came into power in Afghanistan, women were very highly respected and esteemed, and they were educated and they had careers. And so she was working with women very much on the down low who had been traumatized in some way. And she was working in the capacity of a nurse, but also as a community leader and she was respected in her community, and simultaneously being persecuted by the Taliban. And so she was not living in Afghanistan at that moment because it wasn't safe for her. So, you know, in this somewhat of a public sphere, this forum, they couldn't say all the details of what they would do for her because, you know, a lot of it would have to be kept underground to some extent to protect her and to protect the women. But I remember, you know, Miss Jimmy Carter responds to every speaker right there in the forum as it's happening. And he said, okay, we're going to meet with you. We've got team, you know, X that's going to put together a plan with you. And then we'll talk about how to get to Afghanistan. We'll be drafting letters to the leaders of the Taliban. And I don't know, because it was things like that, you know, when it's a really sensitive situation, they don't necessarily give all the details of how they carry out the plan that's formulated. Something that's more like on the issue of health, that's much more open, such as the many, many programs that they have in African countries. They've, you know, there are a lot of diseases that come from bad drinking water and that kind of thing.
Like the guinea worm, for example.
Yes. So that information.
And his policies, his programs, excuse me, have nearly wiped out the guinea worm infections, which had been like millions 30 years ago to like 50 today. And it's a horrific parasite that penetrates the body. And for children, you have to pull this horrible thing out of your body. But he empowered the people to take initiative without medication, by the way.
Right.
To eradicate this disease.
Yes. So that's a great example. So the Carter Center sent teams repeatedly, teams of doctors and nurses and healthcare workers and public health officials to these different places where the disease is rampant and trained the healthcare officials in these countries so that they can carry out the eradication themselves.
That's so interesting because as you're describing health initiatives, you know, health and good health is a normal equalizer for everybody. If you don't have health, or if you're plagued by disease or guinea worm, you cannot live and work and uplift your own economic level or run society. So it seems like a natural way to really help create a balance of power. There might be another word for that, of equality, of just helping people feel more equal to have a chance in life.
I think that's accurate, and that reminds me of something that he would say, you know, when I was there those 2 days, something that he just kept going back to is that if only some of us are thriving, that's not good enough. You know, if people are suffering, then we're all suffering. It's not that just one or two people or, you know, one country or one hemisphere suffers and then the other is okay. That's not good enough. It's like we're all in this together. And that's very much their purpose. You know, just I'm thinking of basic human needs, like you were mentioning, and how we measure those things. You know, we as a world society, we categorize and we thematically look at different aspects of life: fair housing, health, education, nutrition, you know, all of these things that are basic and necessary for survival, yes, but to thrive. You know, if we don't have those basic human needs, we can't advance I mean, what's the point of democracy? We'll never get there if everybody's starving. So, he's very much about looking at, I would say, the Human Development Index that measures these things, and then looking at ways to make things better. Mm-hmm. Not just okay, so that's reminding me actually of something else that he said, and I think of you. I remember I thought specifically of you when I was there. He kept saying to all of us, to everybody who was observing, find whomever you can influence in your own sphere and just go for it. And if you need help, call on us too. So, he's very much about supporting at the grassroots level. And as we know, the grassroots, the culture is where everything starts. Because that's where people are living their lives. That's where people are feeling the oppression or, witnessing the violations. And that's where people start speaking up. And I feel like that's also where the arts feed into this. Because if we think about these social movements, they start very locally, people speaking up. And somehow things start getting expressed artistically. We think about the civil rights movement, Black Lives Matter, Occupy, Me Too, the Arab Spring, the Summer of Love, the peace movement, No Nukes, all of that. Along with every one of those movements, there seemed to be an explosion of art. The music of the 60s and the 70s, and jazz and blues and folk music from around the world that's singing about oppression and revolution. Performance, flamenco is all about that. Certainly story and film and poetry, and that reminds me of your work too. Your book, your film. I feel like these are things that add to the social movements that are directly affecting or giving transport to these human rights and social justice, affecting policy and law. And that is, even though President Carter is not in a position right now to, personally affect legislation and policy, because he's not a politician at this stage. He is all about supporting people who can. And he's definitely a supporter of the arts, too. It was so cool to be in the Carter Center to see this beautiful theater and stage. And they regularly, pre-pandemic, hold concerts and film and performance events, plays. Yeah. He's very much a supporter of the arts, realizing the connection, the intersections.
He did share a quote at the Music Cares Award a couple of years ago. Bob Dylan had invited him to the Music Cares Award to give Bob Dylan an award. And Bob Dylan refused that award for 2 years until Carter would come and give him the award.
I love it.
And at the award ceremony, Jimmy Carter said that musicians have far greater power than any president of the United States. Mm. And there's a recent film out called The Rock and Roll President, Jimmy Carter, and it talks about the heart. Do you think that Jimmy Carter has been able to carry that kind of narrative about the heart, and not so much about, politics? He played the game of politics in a pretty good way of being honest, and he really said that during his administration is, I will not lie to the American people. Mm-hmm. He was very bold about that and strong. And so I wonder, do you think that there's a message in that about his spirit, and for the times today that we might be able to be inspired by that?
Totally. Okay, so, he's very public about the fact that he's a Christian. And he's also very genuinely outspoken about the fact that he loves all faiths. And he's very much a supporter of ecumenical and interfaith work. And, on that note, there were so many people from Muslim countries at the Carter Center. There are many people who are, from other faiths who work there. And I met this young woman who is from Thailand, and she's Buddhist, and she told me one of her favorite things to do was go to President Carter's Bible study. And she said because he has a way of linking his beliefs to other people's beliefs, never preaching. In fact, something that he was saying while I was there was that one of the worst abuses that he sees in the world is the misuse of scripture, whether it's a Christian scripture or, Islamic or whatever, the misuse of scripture. So he speaks very openly about his faith. He believes that there's a higher power. He believes that we are all, that there is something much greater than ourselves that we can be working towards. And whatever it takes to unite us in the spirit of love is what he promotes. And very often music might be the force that unites. A cause, something, these social movements that are for the greater common good. He's very much about that. And, I was really moved, honestly, to tears a few times while I was there, when he was speaking, because as each country's representative would speak and give their story, or explain their situation, he would respond to it, and he would respond in just such a loving way. He would call a man, a prime minister or a president, brother. There was just such a spirit of warmth. And then a few times when there would be breaks, I would see him hugging, just really embracing some of these presidents from other countries. And again, they spoke every language you can think of. And on that note too, the way it was very much like a UN meeting. So everybody had the headset where they could tune to their language so that everybody was in on the conversation. But yeah, he's just so heartful, such a heartful person. Yes, very heart-centered.
I think we're so lucky to have that center here in the United States. And it's in Atlanta, Georgia. Is that correct?
That's correct.
In Atlanta, Georgia. And what an amazing resource we have in this country, especially I think about how much they've learned working with other countries about how to monitor elections, for example.
Yes.
How to really empower people in order to take a stand for democracy. How to roll out education for health initiatives, empowering the people, again, to do that work. It seems like right now that's something that could be very inspiring for many of us here.
Very inspiring, and I think it's pretty exceptional, because even though every president has their library and has their center, I don't know that they're nearly as active.
Can you tell us, are these online? Are these forums online? Is there a way to look at them if one is curious?
Thank you for reminding me. So yes, the Carter Center, they film everything that they do. Well, unless it's a private meeting. But these forums, the Human Rights Defense Forum, is filmed every year, and it is screened live from their website. And then it's, I believe they're all archived on their website. So if you went to cartercenter.org, I think, I should know, I've been to it so many times. Yeah, you would just click on the issue that you're looking for. So human rights or health or peace. They have more than 3 categories. You just choose the issue and then kind of click around, and it's all there.
Fantastic. I kind of pause as you're talking about all this great information and inspiration about, like, where have I been all these years while the Carter Center has been in action? I feel like I've truly missed out on an incredible high-level integrity community of people who have been carrying a conversation, and I have to ask myself, where have I been? Right?
You know, I feel like I got lucky because I had an uncle who was a professor at Emory University, which is located right next to the Carter Center. And Emory University is part and parcel to the medical programs that the Carter Center rolls out. So I guess I knew about it because of my uncle. And when I found out about these forums, I actually applied as a journalist. I asked if I could get a journalistic badge to attend. And I mean, I was thoroughly vetted, and I didn't get an overnight answer. When I finally got the answer, I wanted to be able to participate, actually. I was hoping that I could be one of those to ask questions. But I got an observer spot, which I was happy with. I'm glad I got to go. But I think, like, if you wanted to go the next time, post-pandemic, that they have it live again, I think if you applied, you could go. I guess I knew about it because of my uncle. And when I found out about these forums, I actually applied as a journalist. I asked if I could get a journalistic badge to attend. And I mean, I was thoroughly vetted, and I didn't get an overnight answer. When I finally got the answer, I wanted to be able to participate, actually. I was hoping that I could be one of those to ask questions.
Hello, we are back here on Marin Television. Spencer Christian, and Barbara McVeigh. I think we're kind of getting into the spirit of listening to interviews, and we got some music coming up, Spencer, on this 4th tribute for President Jimmy Carter's 96th birthday.
Well, and how appropriate, since he's the rock and roll president.
That was an amazing interview with Misha.
That was great. Oh, it was just great. I mean, she's so smart and has such a great heart, but you also did a terrific job as the interviewer. I mean, it was just a wonderful conversation, Yeah, I like that.
I think that happens when you really get in tune with something that just gets you so excited.
Yeah.
What he was saying just so touched me, and you just start to fall into that yourself. I think because she said such inspirational things that were so touching to me. I think we inspire one another, and if we can grow this on a bigger level.
That's so true. That's what I was thinking as she was talking, because as you pointed out, she is so inspirational. And I think it's all about inspiring each other. And if we can do that, if the reach of our inspirational efforts is long enough, think about the wonderful things we can accomplish.
Really, it is. I also do want to give a plug to Marin Television studio folks right now. Many people don't know about Marin Television, Spencer, but I got to give a little credit to this amazing small community television center. That how much volunteerism, right? People really making it happen. Actually, all of the people presenting the news involved actually don't get paid. It's really straight from the heart journalism.
Yeah.
And approaching topics that are very meaningful to people. And right now we have 2 people in the studio who are the masters behind this entire program. Because of COVID, we can't have a lot of people in the studio.
Right.
So Omid, Shamsapour, and Jill Lessard. And they are just 2 amazing people who are making this all happen for us on a very different system than what we're used to. We would normally be in the studio together, but it's been really an amazing process to make this all happen.
Well, they are amazing to put this together and allow it and enable us to execute it like this. It's fantastic.
Let's go to a little bit of music. This is a jamboree after all, right?
Yeah, it is. And let's jam.
Let's jam. Let's start lightening up and having some fun. And boy, there's just so much to talk about. 96 years worth, of course. But
Yep.
Let's see. Jimmy Carter's a music lover. Randall Sequeira and the Dream Farmers have been part of this 4-year effort. I mean, literally from the beginning. And we've got a video to share of their music called "It's a Beautiful World." And we're going to play this. This is going to be our 6th video of the evening. And I think you'll be touched, like me, Spencer, with this music. And then we'll be right back with a very, very special guest in our community, too.
Cool. Okay.
It's a beautiful world.
Yeah, thank you.
Why would we waste this wonderful world? Wonderful world. Why would we waste this wonderful world? Wonderful world. Why would we waste this wonderful world? Yeah. I want to know why would we waste this wonderful world? Wonderful world. I step out the door and look to the sky. Don't see a single bird and wonder why. Taking more than we give is not the way we were meant to live. I want to know why would we waste this wonderful world? Why would we waste this wonderful world? Wonderful world. Stroll to the sea, the color looks dry. Cast my memory back to what we once had. Seek sanctuary to heal and grow. Just one thing and I need to know. Why would we waste this wonderful world? Wonderful world. Why would we waste this wonderful world? Wonderful world. Perfect distance from our star. Not too near and not too far. Plenty holy water, yes, we certainly are blessed. Save what we can or destroy the rest. Why would we waste this wonderful world? Wonderful world. Why would we waste this wonderful world? Wonderful world now. Why would we waste this wonderful world? Wonderful world. Ah, this wonderful world. Why would we waste this wonderful world?
Virginia's a blue state now.
That is great. Yeah, that's good to know. Yeah. Spencer, are you still on the book circuit or?
Not very actively right now. You know how things slow down on book sales once the buzz.
We are live here at Marin Television, having a great time chatting amongst ourselves. It's a party.
It is.
Carter Jamboree. Catching up on 96 years and just kind of shouting a shout out to all the people that make things happen. We're here again with Marin Television celebrating Carter's 96th birthday. And live with us right now is the wonderful, highly respected and adored Felicia Gaston of Marin County. Let me just say a few words about Miss Felicia Gaston. She's the founder and director of Performing Stars of Marin. Originally from Marietta, Georgia. Did I say that right?
Yes, you say that right. Well, we used to say Mayretta when I lived there. Yeah.
And Felicia felt the throes of segregation in your childhood, and you've been an advocate for children and community ever since. I've known you for about 15 years, and you always amaze me. You're my inspiration. And you're going to share some of the Southern hospitality and some of the reasons why you do your work. And I don't know, we've got so much to share, and we got so many questions to ask. Marietta, Georgia, what was Georgia like, and how did you end up here in Marin?
Well, I grew up in a very nurturing household. Okay, what happened to that? Okay, very nurturing. I lived with my sister, my two sisters, my mom, my grandmother, which we call Big Mama, my great grandmother, Granny, my uncle William, my cousin Roy. So lots of strong family ties. And my grandmother was the first, she started the first female gospel group in Marietta, Georgia. Wow. So being a businesswoman, I believe that's where I got a lot of the skills of organizing and especially when it comes to producing events. But she would always have different music groups come to perform or practice in our home or her home. So we were surrounded by all this great music. And I found out later after she passed away, going through all her papers, that she was a gospel booking agent too. So that was really something to be just real exciting to be that. And my mother was part of the gospel group. It was called the Sacred Hearts. So I actually have a lot of their music on reel to reel. And I'm planning on getting that music converting into, it's not even, people don't even use CDs now. I guess they have to be on the MP3 or some new sound system, but I have all these photographs. But it was just great to be growing up in that household. And of course, she had a garden and vegetable garden, all types of fruit trees. So she grew all the food that we ate. She canned food. So a lot of that work that she taught me and my sisters, I'm incorporating into some work I'm doing now in Marin City during COVID-19. We launched a Victory Garden project, and I'm probably moving too far with that because I need to talk about the work that I've been doing, incorporating the Southern hospitality into Performing Stars.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Were you also a gospel singer and performer?
No, but we have to go to church every day. Yeah. I mean, not every day, but every Sunday. And you actually, on the weekends, I remember we had so many chores to do in the mornings that we didn't get outside till after 12 o'clock. And then we just played till the street lights came on. And then it was time to get ready to go to Sunday school and church the next day. So, but I always sung in a choir, but I don't have the voice that my mom and my grandmother has.
But I'm guessing that experience, that musical experience in your youth inspired you to do what you do now with the Performing Stars of Marin.
Yes. Well, another thing that really launched Performing Stars was, as a little girl, I remember being about 5 years old, and I used to see a lot of little white girls going to ballet class, and I would be just watching out the window when we would go visit my grandmother, and she had moved to another location by then, and my mother and sister, we had our own place. And I knew that I couldn't even ask to take ballet. It is something that you just knew, don't even ask, because you knew that it wasn't going to be available. And so that desire stayed with me all the way till I got to high school. And by then my mother remarried and we moved to Los Angeles, and I finally took ballet when I was in high school. But that's the impetus behind why I do what I do, only because when you have a passion for something and you want to do something and you're not able to do it, then you long for it. And then I think about the number of children that I work with now in Marin City and throughout the county, is just having, even if they don't know what they want to do, but just giving the children opportunity so they can experience all types of avenues so they can be able to be successful.
And you've worked with about 3,000 children. Is that?
Yes, so we're celebrating 30 years this year. December 12th would be our virtual fundraiser, but we have served over 3,000 children since Performing Stars started, and that's countywide.
Wow.
Yes.
Amazing. And you happen to be from the same state as President Jimmy Carter, which is
yes.
a tie-in. That's what you fit so neatly into this celebration tonight.
Thank you. Especially roasting those peanuts as a little girl. I remember in the summer we would have the fresh peanuts, and you put it in the oven and you just sit and you watch TV. So yes, the Georgia, but then also the Georgia peach too. Yeah,
Georgia peach. Right.
Much of the work that Felicia does is not just about the 3,000 children, but she has this ability to bring the entire community together to make that happen. You know, whether it's with artists and business people and so many other people, and really uplift so much here in Marin with the arts and it's
so
great
true.
too.
And we've expanded over the years. We started out with the arts, but over the years we have evolved, and we provide a lot of enrichment programs. So children are learning how to sail on the ocean. They learn surfing. We do digital coding. Just a variety, and theater, music classes. Our whole vision is to connect children with scholarships and professional training so they can go and be, like I mentioned earlier, success in all types of careers.
Yes, right. That's amazing. Yeah. So you want to say happy birthday to President Carter?
Yes, and he's listening, right?
Yeah, we think so.
We think so, huh? Yes. Well, hello. I mean, happy birthday. I mean, you always give us such strength, even when you go through a lot of trying times, and you just still get up and you still keep going. And that's what I like about that. That's that Southern spirit. And you just keep on till you just keep rowing your canoe till you can't row it no more. But happy birthday. Yes.
So there is something to that Southern hospitality. It's a real thing, and even though the South has, of course, its ugly side, but there's a sweetness and a lovingness and a hospitality about the South that is unique.
Yes, and we always make it a point to incorporate that Southern hospitality into the work that Performing Stars is all about. So when a child is in any type of class, they're always being taught about manners, their social skill, their grooming. A lot of times I call it my big mama phase, like you got to behave, you got to be on your best behavior, you got to look correct. You go to ballet, you go to theater, you're properly groomed. And so I incorporate all of that Southern hospitality into the work that I do in Performing Stars.
That's fantastic.
Well, thank you so much, Felicia Gaston, for joining us. When is your gala?
So our virtual gala, and it's also on our website, performingstars.org, but it's December 12th, 2020. And just keep going to the site. Everyone who's on my email list will definitely be getting a big email blast. And it's called the Circus of the Stars. And we have all types of virtual performances by all type of performers. And we're bringing back a lot of our alumni. It's going to be a great affair. Silent auction items. We already have a signed autographed guitar by Carlos Santana. We have donated items by Sammy Hagar, by Dave Cause. He's donated a fabulous cruise in Amsterdam in 2021. So all of this is to help us reach our fundraising goals.
That's great.
Yes.
Yeah, we can't wait to see how you continue your work. And thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Bye-bye.
Oh, Spencer, it's just so exciting to meet all these people and talk about all these
yes.
potential in us all, right? I mean, people like Felicia and continues to inspire more people. Let's turn to some music. We're going to hear a piece by Steve Wolf and Mason Holcomb. They're locals here in Marin County. They have been a duo. I heard from Steve Wolf that Bill Graham almost picked him up as a performer, back in the day. I mean, that's how, there was a real, and then Bill Graham sadly died. Yeah. And Steve Wolf says, we've been kind of figuring it out ever since, but, they're always playing locally. They are the love of Fairfax, California. We're a music town here. Mm-hmm. And we got a piece right now coming up called Freedom. Okay. So let's go to our next video 7 and we'll be back.
Mm-hmm. I know the difference is a pain. I know the things between us bring you pain. And you wouldn't condemn me if you knew. There's nothing in this world I wouldn't do for you, but it seems that my life brought a dagger in the night, and it strikes like lightning in the darkness. There is light, and it's freedom awaiting me. Freedom, can't you see that train keeps on rolling to the shores of liberty, and it's freedom coming in. Freedom, catch the wind that blows through the hearts of men. Those who seek shall rise again. I know the truth you seek's unclear, and that a crisis is now drawing near. The only things that keep you here are the illusions that still bind you to your figure. But you know when it's right, you'll be there to join the fight, and our fathers' fathers' fathers shall arise, and it's freedom awaiting me. Freedom, can't you see that train keeps on rolling to the shores of liberty, and it's freedom coming in. Freedom, catch the wind that blows through the hearts of men. Those who seek shall rise again. You are a rebel, it is clear. The things you say are true, no one wants to hear. Your right's about to disappear until you seek the truth. You will live in fear, but the flag's burning fast as the ocean takes the mast. Hear the guns of rebellion drawing near, and it's freedom awaiting me. Freedom, can't you see that train keeps on rolling to the shores of liberty, and it's freedom coming in. time may not come again. This time we must take a stand.
We are live back here at Marin Television celebrating President Jimmy Carter. That was Steve Wolf and Mason Holcomb of Fairfax, California. The Samurai Wolf, they call themselves, aren't they? Did you enjoy that, Spencer?
Yes, I love their sound. Oh my gosh, it's just so uplifting, you know? Ah.
All of their songs are just so heart-filled, soulful, just words that could really inspire us right now. They always inspire me. But
well, that's the kind of inspiration we all need right now, that's for sure.
Yeah, they're two really amazing musicians. You can find them on Reverb Nation and other places as well. Mm. So we now have an interview, I think it's a bit of a sobering interview from Dennis Hayes. I'll tell you, Spencer, this took me about a year to get this interview from Dennis Hayes. He is, most people might know him as either the founder or organizer of the first Earth Day.
Earth Day, yeah.
Many don't know that he was in the Carter administration. And many don't know that he actually wrote a book in 1977, published by the World Watch Institute, called Rays of Hope, Transition to a Post-Petroleum World. Now, I got to interview him, and he's done so much more since then in the solar research world and environmentalism. But we have this pre-recorded interview with him, and I asked him actually first, because it's been a burning question for me, as we had heard from actually Rick Rowden earlier, from American University, how we had been on a path with Carter with sustainable energy, right? And then what happened, there was that fateful day that the Reagan administration called those who had been on the solar team, the sustainable energy team, and said, we no longer need you.
Yeah.
And after all that passion work, and California was in the lead. We'll hear about that in this interview. Mm-hmm. But a lot of people kind of have forgotten about this or don't want to talk about it. And I think, gosh, this is the time to talk about it and kind of ask what happened, because we can learn from this. We can become better people, I think. And so that's in the spirit of this interview. It's like, what can we learn and what can we glean to help us today? But the interview starts with my asking Dennis Hayes, what was that fateful day like for you when you got the call from the Reagan administration that your services for sustainable energy research will be, not funded anymore, and we no longer need you. So if we can go to that interview, video 8, and then we'll be back right after that.
That's fine.
Well, there was one particularly stark day in the first year of the Reagan administration that summer when we learned that they were running a frontal assault on the Solar Energy Research Institute, cutting our budget by about 80%, firing about a third of the staff, laying off all of our contractors in universities and other national laboratories, two of whom went on to win Nobel Prizes. It was just absolutely brutal. I will say the worst day of my life. That affected me more deeply than the death of my parents. The fact that they came in to destroy the brightest energy prospects for the United States.
Carter said that it was the moral equivalent of war to be independent of energy. What did that actually mean during that powerful, powerful speech that he gave to the American people?
Well, it meant a lot of different things to different people. For me, what it meant was that we needed to start thinking of energy not just in terms of the traditional neoliberal, what is the appropriate price to put on externalities and how do we try to optimize that in economic terms, or not just in terms of power dynamics, who has the power to enforce the ability to get various subsidies from the federal government and who doesn't, but rather that there ought to be a vision that guides how energy is produced and used that is compatible with our vision of what we want to be as a society. It has a moral dimension to it that had basically been missing from the energy dialogue before Carter spoke.
Would you be able to say that Carter and the work that you all did should be construed today as the first Green Deal of 1979? Could that be an accurate statement?
President Carter went beyond the traditional sorts of analyses that had been done of energy prior to that time, which were at the policy level almost entirely dominated by economics and by price signals. Carter's speech calling for the 20% of all energy from renewables by 2000 had a certain moral clarity to it that has been largely missing from energy policy before and largely since, but has come back to us now with the Green New Deal. It involved a vision of where America wanted to go, and it was in relatively simple, straightforward terms, 20% by the year 2000, very much like the 5 or 6 page thing that AOC and Ed Markey did with the Green New Deal. And much as Jay Inslee's presidential campaign expanded that into a series of 6 position papers that spelled out how would you actually achieve these goals, we spent 2 years at the Solar Energy Research Institute and a few $1,000,000, which back then was still real money, exploring in detail how to achieve that. So that had we begun a second term in the Carter administration, we had a game plan laid out that, if implemented, I think actually could have achieved that enormously ambitious goal.
Thank you. I have heard it said by journalist Tom Hartman. He says that if Carter had gotten that second term and those policies, his ambitious policies and the work that you all had done, into that second term, it's possible we would not be dealing with climate change today. Do you think that's an accurate statement?
I think that's probably a bit of an overstatement to say we wouldn't be dealing with it. By the time that Carter was elected to the presidency, we had already accumulated a fair amount of greenhouse gas, and we were already beginning to see some natural disturbances. And to get to 20% by the year 2000 means that to get to 100%, we would have a shot at it by maybe 2025, 2030. So we would have had far less disruption than we have today when you see 2 major hurricanes simultaneously in the Gulf of Mexico. Right as you and I are speaking, 2 of the largest forest fires, 2 of the 3 largest forest fires in the history of California burning simultaneously. Yeah, we wouldn't have that kind of disastrous impact, but we would be having some drought, we'd be having some extreme weather. Climate change had already begun.
Are there any other words that you would like to say about the Carter administration and your time in that service that you could reflect on today as, you know, I think many of us look back at that administration and go, you know, there was a lot of honesty. There was a lot of transparency. Not perfect, perhaps. Nothing ever is. But are there any lessons that we could really learn from that time right now as we also face a very pivotal time? Not specifically with the elections, but yes, and then also just the huge challenge that, you know, we're in, that our children are in. How could they learn from that?
Well, a fairly boring lesson, but a really important one, is that the president sets the moral framework for an administration. That was clearly true for Carter, and candidly, in a very different way, it was very true for Reagan. The actual implementation is done by individuals who are brought in. I mean, the president can't do everything. He can't even do most things, but what he does do, or she does do, is make the right choices for people and putting them in the correct positions. And in a number of things that are related to energy, Doug Costel at the EPA, surprisingly Jim Schlesinger at the Department of Energy, Cecil Andrus at Interior, were folks who had a great deal of courage. Schlesinger was viewed, to put it charitably, askance by the environmental community, but I actually got to know him very well and was enormously impressed. One of the things that happens when secretaries of energy deal, for example, with the oil industry, is that these are titans of industry who are used to having multi-billion-dollar corporations, of staging coups d'etat in third world countries, of having mercenary armies that will do their bidding in various parts of the world, massive crews of roughnecks. I mean, these are tough guys, and they are somewhat intimidating to most energy secretaries. Jim Schlesinger walked into that office, and he'd been Secretary of Defense. He'd had real armies around the world, and he'd been the head of the CIA, and he'd been the head of OMB. this was a guy who was not in the least intimidated by the oil industry. One of the strange little footnotes to history, that the National Petroleum Council consists of the heads of most of the major oil companies in the United States and the Secretary of Energy and a consumer advocate. And in the earliest couple years of the Carter administration, I was the consumer advocate. So it's all these oil titans, Jim Schlesinger and me. And I was able to watch some of those interactions. And I think he was probably the toughest that we've ever had operating in that kind of intimidating environment. And he was a person who, like, I'd say the same thing for Kostal, the same thing for Andrus, they listened to data and they made reasoned decisions. There was a serious effort to kill the solar photovoltaic program from the bowels of the Department of Energy, which was largely created from the remains of the Atomic Energy Commission. And in the final debate in the Secretary's office, it was my head of policy at SERI and the Undersecretary of Energy and the chief economist from the department arguing to shut down the program because solar photovoltaics just physically could never become cheap enough to be important to the nation's energy future. And Schlesinger listened to the two sides and decided to keep the program intact and to move forward. And of course, right now, this last year, solar photovoltaics made the largest contribution of any energy source to new supply around the planet. And it's doing it cheaply. The last utility scale sale of photovoltaics is producing electricity at 1.3 cents a kilowatt hour. That would not have happened but for an appointee of the Carter administration, and one that surprised me and a lot of people with his integrity.
California, under Governor Brown at the time, took a very major role, and as I understand it, was actually the kind of the star of the show internationally of the major policies and changes that were being implemented with solar and wind energy. Is there anything you could tell us about what California was achieving at that time?
Jerry Brown has always been a person who was out on the cutting edge. He had a state that was prepared to back him when he wanted to do some things that were radical. I mean, it's subject to all kinds of criticisms, the Governor Moonbeam stuff. But he didn't let that bother him. He had a great deal of confidence. He brought in Huey Johnson, once again, some superb people to run major agencies for him in this field. Brought in a very creative young guy on his personal staff named Wilson Clark, who was pushing aggressively in the solar and renewables business. And he had a couple of major utilities, the Sacramento Municipal Utility District and the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power. They were prepared to be enormously innovative in a way that public utilities sometimes are, and that investor-owned utilities have much more difficulty being. And so he was in this, plus he had a legislature that was vastly more supportive than the United States Congress was in these fields. So yeah, I think it's safe to say that then and candidly all the time since, California has been like a nation apart on everything from automobile fuel efficiency standards to insulation of houses to the distribution of solar onto rooftops to moving utilities to be getting all of their new production from benign renewable resources. Hopefully, we will continue in the future where California is today is where America will be 10 years from now, except with regard to forest fires.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, forest fires are certainly helping all of us rethink the past and the future as well. So maybe this is waking up more people. Last question I have. Is there anything that you would like to personally say to President Jimmy Carter? Chances are he will be watching this. They do know about the efforts. We have received letters from Jimmy Carter for the efforts we've been making the last 4 years. Is there anything that you would want to publicly say about him or about the time that you served during his administration? It is, again, his 96th birthday.
Well, I'd like to join with all of America to wish Jimmy Carter a hugely happy 96th birthday and express appreciation for the courage, the leadership, the creativity, and perhaps most important, the integrity that he brought to the presidency. As we are in a current administration that lacks all of those things, it's powerfully important to all of us Americans to look back and remember when we had a president we were really proud of.
Hold on, we're not on yet.
Oh, sorry, I thought we were on.
Sorry. I actually confused you.
That's okay.
We are live here back at Marin Television. Spencer Christian and I were just talking about how sobering that conversation was. Spencer, what did you think of that interview with Dennis Hayes?
Well, Barbara, first of all, it was a terrific interview. I congratulate you for your questions and your observations that really hold so much extraordinarily helpful and enlightening information out of the guest. He said so many things that stuck with me. He was talking about President Carter's energy policy as having moral clarity, which is so powerful because so many of our policies, not just in the area of energy, but across the board today, don't have any kind of clarity, much less moral clarity. And he was talking about how Jim Schlesinger, who had been, Secretary of Defense and had been in this FBI or CIA, there was no intimidation factor when he met with the big oil barons. He was about getting the right policy for the country. That was terrific.
It's a tough job. I mean, I just gained so much more respect for those people in that position.
Yeah.
And we're still on that track. We're still in for the fight. I think these kind of conversations just help us right now to go, you know what, we can't wait. We need to think differently. I just really wanted to say thank you so much, Dennis Hayes, for stepping up and coming forward with that interview. There's a really great story, though I do want to switch gears a little bit, Spencer, with a really happy story. It's kind of a funny story too.
Okay.
Peanut story.
Oh, the peanuts. The peanut. Yes, I want to hear the peanut story.
I don't know how I'm a native Californian. I didn't even know about this story. I was just kind of mucking around one day doing some research, and I learned about this giant peanut up in Northern California in a town called Oric, California, that I had never even heard of before. Anyway, we tracked down the ranger. And let me give you his name. His name is Richard Stanger. He's of the Northern California Redwoods. Chief Marketing Ranger of the Redwoods Coast Parks in Northern California. It's a consortium. And here's an interview about the most amazing story that I think will make you laugh. It will also be sobering, and it's got a great ending to it. Great. So let's go to our next video 9 of our recorded interview with Richard Stanger. Hi there, my name is Barbara McVeigh with Marin Television, and I am here on Zoom with Richard Stanger. He is the Chief Marketing Ranger of Redwood Coast Parks in Northern California. Hi, Richard. How are you doing today?
I'm good, Barbara. Thank you. How are you today?
I'm great. I think you are the right person to ask. I've heard a lot about where you're from and also where you are right now. And I hear there is a correlation of Jimmy Carter, Northern California, and a big peanut. What can you tell us about this?
Well, it's quite a story. It's a rather long story. When I say long, I mean it goes from the West Coast to Washington, D.C. and back again. Being from Georgia, the first time I saw the big peanut, I had to look twice. I'm pretty sure it's the world's largest. It's about 9 tons, 10 feet long, and 6 feet high. So if you are in Oric, which is the town in Redwood National Park, it's right on Highway 101, and it's in the Shorelines Deli, and it's made out of one piece of wood, redwood. It was carved about 1977 or 78 by some locals. They wanted to let Jimmy Carter know they might have different ideas about the national park and its expansion. They were a little upset with it. It took some of the timberland out of production. So some chainsawers, they carved it up out of a piece of one old growth piece of wood, sent it on a trailer, a truck bed trailer, all the way to the nation's capital, and tried to present it as a gift to Jimmy to share their concern about Oric's economy. Well, didn't quite make it to stay in the White House, so it rolled back to Oric, where it stays there now as a reminder of those times. And it's been a a challenge for the community, but since then, the upshot is that the town and northern Humboldt have grown to appreciate the value of the park, the economic opportunities it has and continues to provide, and also as a reminder of the importance of redwoods just in general. So it's really quite a sight to see.
Where could one find this large peanut that was, I believe, shaped with chainsaws? Is that right? Some
Yes.
lumberman created a large peanut. Where could you find this peanut that was a gift to Jimmy Carter?
So from San Francisco, if you're at the Golden Gate Bridge and go about 4 hours north on Highway 101, 4.5 hours, you'll see it on your left on the ocean side of 101 in the Shorelines Market parking lot, which is right in the town of Orick, a little town of several hundred people. And besides that, you'll see other chainsaw art too. Orick prides itself on being the burlesque capital of the world. And by that, the meaning of that is redwoods have a lot of these growths that are very unique called burls. There might be some here that we could see, maybe not, but they're a very unique part of the tree and they make very interesting shapes. And because of that, people have made burl art out of them with chainsaws. You'll see chainsaw Bigfoots, eagles. There's even a Statue of Liberty in town. And everything that you can imagine has been turned into a redwood art. And the greatest of these is the nine ton peanut.
I have to get myself up there. That is so intriguing. Now tell me, when Jimmy Carter received this 9-ton peanut made of redwood, what was his reaction in Washington, D.C.?
Well, it wasn't that enthusiastic. Part of it was, I guess they had no place to put it. And part of it was the delicate issue of the creation of Redwood National Park. Yeah. The gift was best sent back, which it was. And the park's creation went through. I guess this is about 78 or 70. Yeah, about 78 when this happened. Interestingly enough, as you probably know, this led to an expansion of the park to preserve the Redwood Creek watershed. And by doing it at that time, they unknowingly managed to save what would decades later be discovered as the new world's tallest tree. So that land protection protected Hyperion, which is 380 feet tall. So that was a real blessing in disguise.
And we do love our redwood trees here in California, and probably have a higher appreciation with all these fires that we really appreciate what we have. Given though I understand probably from the guys back in the 70s, they were worried about their jobs. They were worried about having to, not have food on the table for their families. It's a frightening thing to worry about your job, as many are today. So Orick sounds like an amazing place. This is Orick in California with burlesque art. I love it. And beautiful redwood trees and the world's giant peanut on the side of the road. That's fantastic. You are from Atlanta, Georgia. Is that true?
I am. Jimmy Carter is revered in our family. My mother has every one of his books signed by Jimmy, as we say. And he really is a man of the people. If you go to church in Plains, Georgia, which is not unlike Orick, it's a very small rural community, seemingly very far from civilization. If you go to his Sunday service, he will still have his picture taken with you at the end of each Sunday school.
That's amazing. It's great to know that you're taking care of our redwoods up in Northern California, and thanks for sharing such a great story. Is there anything you'd like to say to Jimmy Carter?
Yes, we miss you, Jimmy. Come out and see us, and bring Rosalind.
That's so fantastic. Well, thank you so much for joining us, and I can't wait to get up to Orick. And I guess at this point in time, let's give Orick some love and some good a good economic future, right? I mean, there's a lot to see up there.
And now, even now, it's a very good time compared to most of the state. The air is clean. The environment is clean. You can social distance all you want. We have the world social distance champion up here, Bigfoot. He's been doing it for centuries. And just a really nice place to visit, no matter the time of year or the year.
Fantastic. Well, Richard, thank you so much for joining us, and look forward to seeing you up there in Oric, California, and the world's giant peanut that was carved for President Jimmy Carter. Thank you so much.
Oh, sure, Barbara. Thanks for thinking of us, and we really appreciate you giving the celebration for Jimmy, too. Thank you for doing that.
Awesome. Live back here at Marin Television, Spencer. Great story, great peanut. We are straight to another video. It's our last video. It's from Kenya, from the heart of Africa. It was based on the song that Harry Belafonte and the musicians in America did for Africa. Mm-hmm. They're doing it back for us. Take a listen to this. Josephine Naomi, she is a woman in Africa who made this happen. Her first video. She did it for pure love, and I think it could be a good statement for us all today. We are the world.
Yeah.
When African countries needed love and care, United States of America offered themselves to us. We street families in Kenya give in return the same love to United States of America in such a needful situation. There comes a time when we heed a certain call, when the world must come together as one. There are people dying. Oh, and it's time to lend a hand to life, the greatest gift of all. We can go on pretending day by day that someone, somewhere soon make a change. We are all part of God's great big family, and the truth, you know, love is all we need. We are the one, we are the children, we are the ones who make a brighter day, so let's not give in. There's a choice of making, we're saving our own lives. It's true, make a better day, just you and me. Send them your heart, so they know that someone cares, and their lives will be stronger and free, as God has shown us by turning stone to bread. And so we all must lend a helping hand. We are the one, we are the children, we are the ones who make a brighter day, so let's not give in. There's a choice of making, we're saving our own lives. It's true, make a better day, just you and me. When you're down and out, there seems no hope at all. But if you just believe, there's nowhere we can fall. Well, let us realize, oh, the change can only come when we stand together as one. We are the one, we are the one, we are the children, we are the children, we are the ones who make a brighter day, so let's not give in. There's a choice of making, we're saving our own lives. It's true, make a better day, just you and me. We are the one, we are the one, we are the children, we are the children, we are the ones who make a brighter day, so let's not give in. There's a choice of making our own lives, we're saving our own lives. Should make a better day, make a better day, just you and me. Next studio.
We are back here at Marin Television. Spencer, I don't know about you. How did you feel about that video? I just
So touching. Yeah, I'm just tugs at your heart, you know. It's so sweet. Oh my gosh, I loved it.
He was a woman, Josephine Nyamu in Kenya, who was actually feeding and trying to help the kids during the pandemic time back in April. And a lot of people saw her on Facebook and started contributing to her cause. And some of us asked, hey, do the kids sing? And she's all, I'll ask. And before you knew it, they were in the studio and created that video for the people here in the United States to kind of show some love. And I thought, wow.
Yeah, that it's come full circle, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we are the world. Yeah, and we are. We certainly are. We can use a little love right now.
Well, I got some more love here from our community of Marin County. This is a quetzal. It's a traditional bird, symbolic. It's a real bird, if you can see that well. It was painted by a very young artist here in Marin County. He's about 21 years old, Banlo Rulaiman. He is a Guatemalan. Mm-hmm. And he painted this as it's a quetzal, which is symbol for light, peace, and freedom.
Yes.
And we're going to be sending it to President Jimmy Carter. It's from the Guatemalan community here in Marin County. And then one more gift here, actually one for you too, Spencer. Richard Stanger of the Redwoods up in Northern California sent these great T-shirts. Do you see
that? I love it. I hugged the giant redwood. I love it. I hugged the giant.
I think Jimmy Carter's one. So we're sending a couple of T-shirts to him and Rosalind for their birthdays. Hello, Rosalind, of course, too. And there was one for you, Spencer, and also for our crew at Marin Television.
That's perfect. I love it. And I'm sure the President and Mrs. Carter will love it, too. That's
and we
great.
have one more grand finale. Are you ready for this?
I think so. I hope so.
You're making this happen, Spencer. You really are. This is a framed letter. You can see it, and I'll read it. And actually, I can't read this. This is in Russian.
Yes, I can see.
A letter from the former president of Russia, from the Soviet Union, Mikhail Gorbachev, who entrusted us with this effort. And this took about 3 years to get from him, actually, I'm going to suggest. Wow. Been a little determined. But really to share a sense of beyond politics, right?
Right.
Humanity is capable of producing in friendships. And I'm going to read this short letter. I'm going to read it in English because I can't say a word in Russian. If you can just bear with me. We also have some photographs that Mikhail Gorbachev from Moscow sent. And this is for President Jimmy Carter. I have in my archive a few photos of our meetings with President Carter. As I look at them now, I recall our conversations and lively exchanges on the most important issues of today's world peace, security, combating poverty and backwardness, and saving our planet from environmental catastrophe. Gorbachev is an incredible, he's really been pushing a lot of environmental work. Yeah. We first met in 1992 when during my visit to America, I spoke at Emory University. Riza was with me, and following my speech, the two of us and Jimmy and Rosalind spent 2 hours having lunch and engaging in a friendly conversation. It was a discussion, I think, that was important for us. Later, we met on several occasions, worked together within the Forum of Nobel Peace Prize laureates, and discussed the developments in our two countries and the world during his visits to Moscow. Together with other veterans of international politics, the elders, we talked about the need for dialogue in world affairs and what each of us can do for dialogue to resume. This is a task that is more urgent today than ever before. I am sure that President Carter will continue to do his utmost for this cause. My greetings to you, dear friend, and wishes of more good years and success in all your initiatives.
Wow, that's incredible. From Mikhail Gorbachev to President Jimmy Carter. Wow. Extending the reach of the hand of friendship across the globe. Is that what they call it? Yeah.
I think so. And the Elders is an organization that had gotten started by Nelson Mandela and a group of people who really have walked the talk like Carter, and I believe people who can really show us the way today.
Wow. That's a powerful note to end on, Barbara. That's fantastic.
Spencer, it's been a great show with you. We do have somebody else to join us. We have our production crew that would
yeah.
tap in because they have been working the gears back there. Is this
Bring them on, please.
there they are.
Hello, guys.
Hello, Omid.
How are you?
Omid, how are you?
Guys, and this is Jill.
Jill, yeah, Jill and Omid.
Yes.
Thank you too for getting us on the air and for making this whole thing come together so beautifully. It's just the work you've done to put this together is amazing.
It's our pleasure, and Spencer, it is a sincere honor and pleasure to have you on this event. Barbara is a dear friend of mine and a producer, a dear friend of all of ours. But thank you, Spencer, for making this happen as well. You guys are both terrific tonight. Great show.
It's an honor and a pleasure for me. Absolutely.
Happy birthday, Jimmy.
Happy birthday, President Carter. Happy birthday, Jimmy.
Happy birthday. Absolutely. We'll be in touch. We're gonna get off the Zoom and you guys close out the show. Okay. Much love to you guys. Good night. Happy birthday, Jimmy.
I love it.
Real plug to Jill because she really helped make this happen. She's a huge Jimmy fan, and she's a Jimmy will do anything for him. So love from Marin Television to Jimmy Carter.
That's fantastic. Oh, well.
Is there anything lasting words from you that you would like to share?
I can't even begin to describe the admiration and the respect that I have for President Carter and for Mrs. Carter and for the work that they do, the work they continue to do. I just wish you a happy 96th birthday. And I can't wait to help celebrate your 97th. So have a wonderful birthday, Mr. President, and stay safe and healthy. We love you.
Happy birthday, 96. I had to get these. They're melting right here. Peanut butter cupcakes. Thank you so much to you, Spencer, and to everyone who helped make this happen. A blessing to the Carters and to the world.
Absolutely.
All right.
Thanks,
Happy
Barbara.
birthday. Goodbye, everyone.
Yeah, this world is just a circle, just a circle from the start. We don't know where we came from screaming, never know when we may depart. No, I cannot say I've got it. I hold no answer in my hand, but of one thing I am certain: we must share love when we can. Just feel the sun, just kiss the rain, just breathe the wind, walk through the pain. Just smile inside, give love away, like water flowing on a perfect crystal day. Sometimes tears, they are so simple. Sometimes laughter washes them away. And let your heart be your temple. Say our prayers while we stay. So we take time to tell our stories. We paint a picture when we can. We feel the weight of what we carry, shared by every woman, child, and man. Just feel the sun, just kiss the rain, just breathe the wind, walk through the pain. Just smile inside, give love away, like water flowing on a perfect crystal day. Oh, life is just a only book that's been written. Every symbol in the chain, every flower at every wedding finds us peace in a world of pain. Life is just a circle. Circle, life is just a circle on this world.